That brings an end to our first session of the third day of FDP. We'll be continuing with the next session shortly. Our next session is titled Increasing Flood Threat Due to Climate Crisis and Developing Flood Resilience with Community Participation. Kindly stay back. We'll be starting within a few minutes. We'll start the next session. We're joined by our distinguished speaker. I kindly invite our faculty coordinator, Dr. Suraj, to introduce our speaker. Please, sir.
Yeah, today's second session speaker is Shri S.P. Rivi, and he's the Secretary of Chalakudi Pura Samrakshana Samiti and Director of River Research Center, President of All Kerala River Protection Council, and part of many environmental collectives in India. And he served as a member of State Advisory Committee of the Kerala State Electricity Regulatory Commission. And he works closely with local self-governments in water management at Chalakudi Basin and also plays a key role in people's flood monitoring at the basin after the 2018 flood. The main area of work is water management with a special focus on rivers, and he looks into energy and climate crisis related aspects. With most respect, I welcome you, sir, to this session and handing over to you, sir.
Thank you. And I thank the organizers for the opportunity provided, especially Suraj sir. I'm actually trying to share my screen. I'm finding it a bit difficult to share my screen.
There is a share button that is on the side of your leave button.
I clicked it, but they are asking select window or screen.
Yeah, if sir your PPT is open, then you just click on the window and select your PPT, sir. Click on the window, sir, and open that PPT, sir.
Actually, even though they are asking select window or screen, they are not.
Yeah, sir, you select window, sir, window option.
They're not giving
Just
that
click on,
option.
sir, just click on that window option, sir. Window option, there is a blue button if you are pressing your mouse.
No, actually, what they are showing is select window or screen and then run USB disk security, then day 3 AICTC, ATAL, etc. Only those, and not this choice between window or screen.
Sir, is there any option? There is a screen on side that is to the window screen sharing. Any option is there?
Let me see. In fact, the option is for share only, but that doesn't seem to be working, and I don't know why.
Sir, just press on that screen button, sir. Screen. Once you click on the share, then two options will be coming, right, sir? Screen and window.
Actually, that two options are not shown. That's the issue.
Screen and window.
Those options are not shown. Select window, they're showing that select a window or screen, but when I click into that, those two options are not shown.
Okay, sir, just check. Just 1 second, sir. Sir, now your full screen is visible here. Full screen.
Uh,
Sir,
is the presentation seen?
no, sir. You are just that Teams screen is visible over here.
Oh,
Sir, you just select that PPT from the taskbar.
actually, my PPT is open at my desktop, but that's not visible to you.
Yes, sir. Your entire screen is visible over here. That means yeah, Teams that is open over here.
Should I mail my presentation?
Yeah, sir. No problem. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'll share it to Suraj sir's ID.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have sent the presentation.
Yes, sir, it is received. I just opening that is. Just opening
Okay,
that
okay,
is.
okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, is it visible to you, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think you can. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, please. Yes. Okay, sir.
So I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. Anyway, let's move into the presentation. As the title suggests, the flood threat is increasing significantly due to climate crisis. And so developing flood resilience is very important with respect to uh, both human loss as well as material loss. So what I would like to discuss today is mainly how community participation can improve developing flood resilience. And also, I would also like to discuss about role of reservoirs in flood management. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. In fact, this presentation is mainly arranged into three parts, and this is the first part where I'll be discussing about the climate crisis and increasing extreme climatic events. Since that's generally known, I'll be only briefly discussing that, and then in the second part, I intend to discuss the 2018 Kerala floods and with special reference to the role of dams in that flood. And then thirdly, how community participation can improve developing flood resilience. Uh, as everybody is aware, the climate crisis is deepening by each passing year, and we have now had two back-to-back record hot years. In fact, 2023 was the hottest year, and now 24. It is said that it's already crossed 1.5 degrees Celsius with respect to pre-industrial levels. Uh, Even though a single event cannot be termed as crossing the threshold, it is very much likely that we will not be able to adhere to the target of 1.5 degree anymore, because the emerging scenario would suggest that the temperature is going to rise only. Then there is nothing in sight to uh, be optimistic about a reduction in temperature in the immediate future, especially with greenhouse gas emissions still increasing. In fact, in 2023, we had emitted 54 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Even though we had decided, the Paris Agreement was signed in 2015, the greenhouse gas emission has been increasing since then. And the sixth assessment report of IPCC actually had asked for reduction, 45% reduction by 2030, and net zero emission by 2050 if we are to adhere to 1.5 degree pathway. Unfortunately, if we have to now reduce emission by 45% in 2030, we'll have to uh, go for extreme reduction in greenhouse gas emission, which for all practicality seems to be an impossibility. Next, please. Uh, it's well known that extreme rainfall events are caused due to rising global temperature. I'm just quoting from UNEP. That is, with higher temperature, we have more energy in the system. Higher ocean water and air temperature increase the possibility of evaporation and therefore cloud formation. At higher temperatures, the air can hold more moisture contents. This can lead to an increase in precipitation intensity, duration, and or frequency. Extreme flooding will continue to be concentrated in regions where humans have built on floodplains or low-lying coastal regions. As global warming increases, the likelihood of more extreme weather events to occur, risks will expand beyond the high-risk areas known today. More extreme flooding events can be expected, and for the towns and cities where flooding has already occurred, there will be more longer, be a once-in-lifetime risk, but now far more frequent. In fact, we have been experiencing this increase in extreme climatic events, including cyclones and floods over the last 10-15 years. Next slide, please. Again, that image is from the 2013 Uttarakhand floods. You must be familiar with that. And we know that severe droughts, heat waves, wildfires, super cyclones, extreme floods are happening all over the world. In fact, the Los Angeles fire is very fresh in memory, and we had experienced that Wayanad disaster last year also. Next slide, please. In fact, data suggests that extreme climatic events have actually tripled over since 1980s actually. In fact, in 1975 to 84 periods, about 1,300 events were recorded in emergency events database, whereas it has increased to 3,900 during 2005 to 14 period. In fact, since 2015, the number of events as well as its intensity have increased further. And just to indicate the kind of economic loss due to these extreme climatic events, a single event, the Hurricane Ida that hit US in August 2021, had resulted in economic loss of $63.8 billion, or in Indian rupee terms, more than 5 lakh crores. Again, we are facing cloudburst events at many places across the world, and in one incident in China in 2021, we had seen 209 mm of rainfall in 1 hour. We know that if there is 100 mm rainfall, it is termed as cloudburst. And here we had 209 mm in a single hour. Again, the contrast in extreme climatic events is seen in the case of Europe, where the multiple nations in Europe faced extreme floods in July 2021, whereas the same places experienced extreme heat waves and huge wildfires in the next year. So unpredictability in weather events is one of the signature of climate crisis. Next slide, please. In India, at least since the Uttarakhand floods of 2023, we are seriously looking into the role of climate crisis into these extreme climatic events. Again, in 2014, we had extreme floods in Jammu and Kashmir, and also in adjoining Pakistan, and the Chennai floods of 2015. In fact, after these three events, we were discussing about which place is going to be affected in the coming years, and when will Kerala have its share in these extreme floods? And unfortunately, we did not have to wait for long, and Kerala experienced its flood of the century in 2018, actually, uh, which was comparable to the 1924 floods of the state. Again, the state had another extreme flood event in 2019. Actually, the 2019 floods did not affect uh, the entire state, but in the northern parts, the flood was even higher than that in 2018. And since you have heard Dr. Abhilash talk, I'm sure he would have discussed the change in rainfall pattern in 2019. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Over the last few years, we have been experiencing extreme floods at multiple states, actually. In 2020, not this, the next one, next one. Yeah. The previous. Yes, yes, thank you. The cyclone Amphan had actually resulted in displacement of almost 49 lakh people, uh, which is the biggest for a cyclone. And again, many places, including Assam, Hyderabad city, had huge floods in that year. And in Kerala, we had a huge debris flow event at Pettimudi in near Munnar, where actually more than 60 people were buried under the debris. Again, in 2021, we had back-to-back cyclones in May, and even before that, there was a flash flood event at Uttarakhand, Chamoli district of Uttarakhand in February. Again, during the monsoon periods, Maharashtra, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, again Assam, West Bengal, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, AP, and Kerala all had faced huge flood events. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Again, in 2022 and 23 also, many states were affected in 23. Actually, at Kerala, we had faced deficient rainfall, but many North Indian states had extreme rainfall and floods in that year also. And according to ADB, economic loss due to these extreme weather events between 2019 and 2023 is estimated at $56 billion actually, which is equivalent to about 4,81,000 crores at rupees 86 per dollar. uh, a study by Center for Science and Environment shows that 255 out of 274 days in the first 9 months of 2024 had extreme weather events at some place in India. And in that year, at least 3,000 lives have been lost to extreme climatic events, including heat waves and other related disasters. And the biggest single event, of course, was the Wayanad disaster of July 2024, where official figures would suggest just below 300 casualties, but actual figures could be much more because there are many missing people still. In fact, the region had received 577 millimeters of rainfall in 48 hours. I'm sure that also has been discussed. So next slide, please. Uh, Now, I'd like to briefly discuss the Kerala floods of 2018. In fact, we have been having frequent floods, but 2018 stands out because with that we can discuss almost every aspect that is contributing to the flood. Next slide, please. Yeah. I'm just trying to list out the major contributing factors to the flood. Of course, the primary factor is the extreme rainfall. We had received more than 30 centimeter of rainfall in 24 hours in many places in the state, and even above 40 centimeters at some places. And it was almost widespread. In fact, only the southernmost and northernmost districts were not affected much. All at least 12 districts had faced very severe rainfall and related flooding events. Then another major contributing factor is land use changes in Western Ghats. In fact, the Western Ghat mountain ranges are actually they need to be considered as savior mountains for the state of Kerala, not just for the state of Kerala. In fact, it's the same for part of Karnataka and for entire Goa and other regions also. And Kerala geography is such that we are a narrow, long stretch of land where the maximum width is around 120 kilometers only, and average width is about 60 kilometers only. The state is having a length of about 600 kilometers, and the eastern parts they actually rise well above 1,000 meters from sea level, and at many places it crosses 2,000 meters also. And within a very short span of 40-50 kilometers, this uh, altitude from 1,000 to 2,000 meters comes down to less than 50 meters. And that huge drop in altitude in a very short distance actually makes the region highly vulnerable to floods and other events. But uh, the entire Western Ghat region in Kerala, actually, most of those regions were forested, or at least in the upper reaches, we had high altitude grasslands and shola forests. Then in regions below 1,000 meters altitude, we had very rich evergreen and semi-evergreen forests and other types of forests also. So this forest cover in the entire Western Ghats actually had helped in uh, containing bulk of the precipitation and immediate surface flow from rains was comparatively less, especially in regions with very rich forests, especially in evergreen forests. If a particular region with evergreen forest is receiving even very heavy rainfall, at least 50% of that rainfall is absorbed in the soil because of the uh, effect of the forest on both uh, managing the precipitation. In fact, not even a single drop of rainfall would fall directly into soil in these regions, and the soil below would be such that there will be rich humus content. So, and the soil below would be highly porous. So, it can absorb a large quantity of water actually. Only if we are having continuous rain and the soil is already saturated, will we have higher surface flow. Otherwise, at least 50% can be stored, and that be later released as streams downstream at a slower pace. But unfortunately, over the last 150 to 200 years, the land use in Western Ghats have been altered significantly, and in fact, uh, the state which had about 60% of forest cover some 200 years back is now having hardly 15% of forest. In fact, the official figures would suggest 25% or even more, but that is the land available with the forest department. If we look into the forests that can function as real forests, we'll have about 4% of dense forest plus uh, maybe another 8 to 10% of partially degraded but still intact forest regions. Unfortunately, that much region is not sufficient to contain the kind of rainfall that the state is getting. Also, other functions of the Western Ghats are also affected. So, at present, what happens is that the whenever the rain falls on these mountain ranges, bulk of that is immediately flowing down as surface flow. That actually increases the possibility of floods and also increases the possibility of droughts in summer periods. Again, we have lost a lot of floodplains, and uh, a lot of constructions have come up along the riverbanks. So these also have contributed to increase in flood intensity, flood magnitude rather. In fact, I'm sure those people who have come to Kerala, many of you would be familiar with Cochin International Airport. That airport actually was submerged thrice in the last decade, in 2013, in 2018, and 2019. Do you know the reason? That airport is built on the floodplains of Periyar, the largest river in the state. Uh, Such is the attitude of people and authorities regarding floodplains. In fact, we even did not have any kind of regard for these regions' floodplains. Unfortunately, now we have very little floodplains available. Again, apart from floodplains, other paddy fields also, paddy fields and wetlands also have been reclaimed. In fact, the state had about 8.65 lakh hectares of paddy fields in 1971. And within a period of about 30 years, that has been reduced to less than 2 lakh hectares, from 8.65 lakh hectares to less than 2 lakh hectares. In fact, the uh, rainfall in the midland regions used to be stored in these paddy fields. Bulk of that used to be stored in these paddy fields, and only excess water was flowing into the rivers and streams earlier. Unfortunately, with all these paddy fields being filled up, now what happens is that, like what is happening at the upper reaches, almost entire precipitation is finding its way into the streams and rivers immediately. And of course, at many places, blocking of water paths for construction of buildings, roads, and other infrastructure has also affected into in exacerbating the floods. Uh, I'd be discussing mainly two aspects. One is regarding dams operation, and then one of the reasons that resulted in large material loss was inadequacies in disaster preparedness, and also lack of timely warnings. Those aspects would be discussed in detail when we go into the next part. Next slide, please. Yeah. Dams can actually increase or decrease flood intensity depending on how they are operated. In fact, a judicious operation of reservoirs can actually achieve quite significant flood moderation. Unfortunately, if they are not operated properly, they can also increase flood intensity. In 2018, most of the smaller dams were nearly full by the middle of July, which actually is only middle of the southwest monsoon. And even in the case of larger dams, water level was rising very fast, and they were close to full reservoir level by the end of July. Despite the monsoon being very active, uh, the dam authorities unfortunately chose to keep the dams at or close to full reservoir level. And they were releasing almost entire inflows during the rains and closing down the shutters during low rainfall periods. Even in the case of reservoirs that had uh, reached FRL much uh, before the actual extreme rainfall events happened. Uh, Due to this, almost every dam in the state had to be opened during August 15th, 16th, and 17th of 2018, and huge quantity of flood discharges had to be resorted to from all these dams, which actually compounded the floods immensely. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. I'm discussing a couple of specific cases where the role of dams can be discussed further. In fact, even though I'm discussing a couple of river basins in Kerala only, and also only the 2018 floods, this is applicable to many other places. In fact, we had such events at many places. A couple of years back, I remember the Narmada Basin facing extreme flooding due to huge, sudden and huge release from Sardar Sarovar project. In fact, the region was facing very heavy rainfall on previous days, but the dam authorities kept the reservoir at full level, and then they resorted to sudden release, and that resulted in huge flood in the downstream of Sardar Sarovar. Last year, uh, the West Bengal government was complaining that the Damodar Valley Corporation did not issue timely warning about flood discharges from dams. So these are happening at many places. So I'm taking these as examples only. Now, Periyar is the largest, longest river in the Kerala, and that has got maximum discharge among the 44 rivers in Kerala. Periyar, Pamba, and Chalakudi-Puzha. These three river basins were the most affected during that 2018 floods. Some other places also had extreme rainfalls, but if you look into entire river basin, these three basins were affected mostly, and the dams unfortunately had a major role in that. In the case of Periyar, at the gauging station of Central Water Commission at Neeleshwaram in the downstream, maximum discharge had actually crossed 9,000 cubic meters per second, or about 90 lakh liters per second. Whereas the carrying capacity of the river would be somewhere between 3000 to 400 m³ only. And about 50% of this was contributed by upstream dams. Two major dams, Idamalayar and Idiki, together had a discharge of about 2,900 m³ per second, and the smaller dams also contributed more than 1,000 m³ per second. In fact, Idiki and Idamalayar are the largest reservoirs in the state. Idiki has got a live storage capacity of 1,460 million cubic meters, and Idamalayar has got a live storage of 1,018 million cubic meters. So actually, these two reservoirs among them could have reduced the flood discharge significantly in the case of Periyar, and the maximum flood level could have been down by at least 2 to 3 meters. And you must be aware that if the maximum flood water level is decreased, a large area that had been inundated could have been saved. Again, the Periyar as well as Chalakudi Puzha actually joins in the downstream. Periyar actually bifurcates into two at the Aluva, and then one part actually joins Chalakudi River and the other part flows into the Cochin backwaters. So the authorities actually had to look into the entire river basin and also the combined basins of Chalakudi and Periyar. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Next slide, please. Again, Chalakudi Puzha. Chalakudi Puzha means Chalakudi River. Dams had a big role. In fact, the primary cause, of course, was the extreme rainfall in the Tamil Nadu Sholayar Dam, which is the highest of the 6 dams in the basin. That had recorded 410 millimeters of rainfall. And Kerala Sholayar Dam and Power House had 350 and 300 millimeters respectively. And the Parambikulam Dam, that also had rainfall to the tune of 275 millimeters. And the discharge from the upstream dams into Periyar, in fact, into Peringal-Kuttu. In fact, out of the 6 dams, Peringal-Kuttu is the lowest reservoir, and discharges from the upstream dams reach Peringal-Kuttu, and then from there into the downstream rivers. On that particular period, there were extreme discharges from the upstream reservoirs into Peringal-Kuttu, and also this Peringal-Kuttu reservoir, that's a small reservoir having a storage capacity of around 32 million cubic meters only, but having a very large catchment area of 526 square kilometers. So, in case of extreme rainfall, there can be heavy inflow into that reservoir from its own catchment only. And on top of that, if there is huge flood release from upstream reservoirs, the situation can be highly alarming. During the 2018 floods, the rate of discharge on the 15th, actually the latest rainfall event had started on the 14th of August. Just prior to that, we had extreme rainfall from 8th to 11th of August. And the state, I think those things would have been discussed already. In fact, the state had very active monsoon right from pre-monsoon showers, and we had 15 and 18% excess rainfall in June and July respectively. And in August, we had 2 events of extreme rainfall events. So in the last extreme rainfall event that started from August 14th, from the night of 14th itself, many places started getting floods. And on the 15th, the rate of discharge from upstream reservoirs was in the tune of 600 to 700 m³ per second. And an inflow of at least 1000 m³ was likely from Peringal-Kuttur, from the catchments of independent catchments of Peringal-Kuttur. In fact, the Peringal-Kuttur dam got overtopped, and water was flowing to above this dam on the early hours of 16th of August, and so official data from Peringal-Kuttur is not available. On the 16th, the combined average discharge from these upstream dams, in fact, the discharge is from 3 points, Kerala Sholayar, Parambikulam and Thunakadavu, was around 1380 m³ per second. And in the early hours from about 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., the discharge rate was more than 2100 m³ per second from two of these dams. And if you take into consideration the smaller one also, it could be around 2200 m³ per second. And this, along with the own catchment inflow for Peringal-Kuttur of about 1200, the actual inflow into Peringal-Kuttur dam was to the tune of around 3500 m³ per second, whereas the flood discharge capacity of the dam was only about 2000 m³ per second. So the result was that the dam was overflowing, and luckily for us, it did not result in dam break. Next slide, please. Now about a scenario where if we had sufficient flood cushion, what would have happened during that floods? I'm taking a 25% storage option here. At Idiki, 25% of storage capacity would mean 365 million cubic meters. At Idamalaya, 255 million cubic meters. And at Kakki in Pamba Basin. Pamba was another basin that was affected by extreme floods, and the sudden surge of water due to huge release from dams resulted in water level rising in the downstream regions in a very short span of time. Within a few hours, the water level had risen by 10-20 feet and even more than that. Kakki is the largest dam there and reservoir there, and 25% of that storage capacity would mean 112 million cubic meters. And Parambikulam, Tamil Nadu Sholayar, and Kerala Sholayar together would have had a storage capacity of about 167 million cubic meters of water. Next slide. At Idiki, the 3-day cumulative inflow is calculated as 435 million cubic meters, including discharge from the upstream Mullaperiyar reservoir. As we had seen in the earlier slide, if there was 25% storage at Idiki, the storage capacity available would have been 365 million cubic meters. It could have actually absorbed most of these inflows. Out of 435, 365 million cubic meters could have been stored in this reservoir. In fact, it has got even further storage capacity, actually above the full reservoir level. The full reservoir level is at 2,403 feet from mean sea level, and there is a 5 feet cushion above full reservoir level, and that actually can hold another 100 million cubic meters of water, which can be utilized in the during extreme events like what happened in 2018.
डोळ्याला लागतं.
Pardon?
नाही आत्ताच भेटला मला, असंच विचारलं मी तिकडे त्या
Excuse me,
याचा
all
वास
the
येऊन राहिला
participants are
ब्लिचिंगचा
requested to
I think
mute the
somebody
mic.
तिकडे पाण्याला. तर मी त्याला विचारलं करेक्ट ब्लिचिंगचा का वास येऊन राहिला, तर म्हणे सर ते टाक्या धुतल्या तर
Dr.
ब्लिचिंग टाकला.
Sandeep, Dr.
तसं म्हणे
Sandeep,
तिकडलं पाणी बंद केलं नळाचं, नदीचं. नमस्कार. नदीचं बंद केलं कारण की तिथे म्हणे
Okay, okay.
sir, you may continue. Thanks. Sorry for the
Yes.
disturbance.
Okay, okay. So Idiki could have actually absorbed most of the inflow during that period, and the discharge into the downstream could have been minimal if that had 25% flood cushion. Again, at Tidamalaya, that could have actually absorbed the entire inflow during these 3 days, as the 3-day inflow was just below 200 million cubic meters against a storage capacity of 255 million cubic meters in case of 25% flood cushion. Taki also, the situation was similar. The inflow was much less than this 25% threshold. At the Chalakudipura basin, again, the 3 reservoirs, they could have absorbed about 63% of the inflow if they had 25% space before this extreme rainfall event. Maybe it may not be feasible to have 25% flood cushion always, but at least 10 to 15% must be possible if provided the authorities look into the kind of loss that can happen in case of extreme floods. This is one of the cases where precautionary principle must apply. Next slide, please. So how can the reservoirs be operated so that flood and drought mitigation can be achieved? In fact, the strategy should be dynamic. Actually, it cannot be a fixed roll curve as it is happening at present. In fact, most of the reservoirs in the state are having roll curves and emergency action plans after this 2018 floods. And these roll curves are actually static, where the upper roll level would suggest that a certain level of water can be maintained until a certain level during a given period. In fact, it is given as in 10-day intervals. The first interval starts on the 1st of June, then 10th of June, 20th of June, and like that. So different levels are suggested, water levels are suggested for these periods. And that actually at present is a static model. Unfortunately, it should be a dynamic model because the rainfall pattern each year can change substantially, and based on ground situation, the operation pattern can actually change and should actually change. Another aspect that I would like to discuss is regarding interstate agreements that at times are affecting flood mitigation at particular dams. We at Chalakudipura Basin, I'm from Chalakudipura Basin actually. We are facing that issue at Chalakudipura Basin. Again, at Periyar also, due to Mulla Periyar, this situation happens. And these, some of the upstream dams are controlled by neighboring state. And at times, huge releases are happening from these dams without timely intimation to the downstream communities or downstream project authorities, and that often exacerbates the flood in the downstream regions. We have been facing that on multiple occasions over the last several years. So these interstate water sharing agreements, they actually need to be revisited to ensure that flood and drought mitigation are made integral part of reservoir management. And of course, robust rule curves and emergency action plans where sufficient flood cushion is maintained throughout the monsoon should be ensured for each and every reservoir. And also in the case of multi-dam basins, apart from individual plans for individual reservoirs, we need integrated reservoir management strategy also. Another thing is that the flood control strategy to be adopted at reservoirs or the operating procedures of reservoirs must be looking into the trends in monsoon and also weather forecasts and other things, and that had to be built into the protocols. Again, drought proofing and e-flow, ensuring e-flow should be priorities in reservoir operations. And apart from having these, developing these protocols, an institutional mechanism that is participatory, that actually takes into account, that actually that should be a decision-making body that have representation from the downstream communities and authorities also. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. And yes, it has to be based on a river basin approach and not on project to project approach. Unfortunately, dams are built for different purposes, and different dams are controlled by different authorities. Some dams are built for hydroelectric generation, some are built for irrigation purposes, some are built for drinking water purposes, and the respective authorities are at present operating these projects according to their needs only, and they are not looking into the river basin as a whole. They are not understanding the fact that they are actually what they are doing is actually managing the river basin according to their interests, and not at times often in conflict with other requirements of the basin. Then again, flood mitigation as well as drought proofing should be integral part of reservoir operations for all reservoirs. And as I discussed earlier, we need to have integrated reservoir operations plan in the case of multi-dam basins. I'll just give an example of our basins for that. At the Chalakudipuza Basin, we have 6 reservoirs. The uppermost one is Tamil Nadu Sholayar Reservoir, which is in the state of Tamil Nadu. Then 3 more dams are controlled by Tamil Nadu, but they are situated within Kerala. One is Parambikulam, which is actually the largest reservoir in the basin, that's having a storage capacity of more than 500 million cubic meters. The Tamil Nadu Sholayar had a storage capacity of 150, and Kerala Sholayar also has a similar storage capacity. The others are comparatively smaller ones. And as I discussed earlier, water released from these upper reservoirs ultimately reach Peringal Kuttu, which is the lowest one, and from there it flows down into the river. At Tamil Nadu Sholayar, water can be diverted either into the Kerala Sholayar or into the Parambikulam reservoir. There are 2 powerhouses and also 2 sets of flood discharge mechanisms. Unfortunately, that particular reservoir is often kept at above FRL for long periods during monsoons, which should not be the operating procedure that has to be adopted. Again, at Parambikulam, which I said is the largest reservoir, it does not have a roll curve or emergency action plan. That actually requires that. And as I said, water from all these would be reaching Peringal-Kuttur. So an integrated reservoir operation strategy has to be, a plan has to be developed with Peringal-Kuttur as the base station. And the release from Peringal-Kuttur should be the criterion for release from upstream reservoirs. And the release from Peringal-Kuttur should be after taking into consideration the downstream basin situation. If there are possibilities of extreme floods, if the water level in the river is already high, the release should be maintained at minimum level. And if that has to happen, the upper reservoir should not be releasing water at that time. So that kind of planning where all the reservoirs are taking into consideration and an integrated operation pattern is developed is required. It's actually applicable to almost all multi-basin, multi-dam river basins. And as I said, these plans must be dynamic so that even though we are giving some particular level as upper rule level for a certain period, if, for example, if water level at Idiki reservoir for a certain period, the upper rule level for a certain period is 2,360 feet. And if the water level had reached to 2,355 feet, that is a space of around 5 feet or even less than that. And then there are forecasts for extremely heavy rainfall in the coming days. The authorities actually need not wait until the water reaches this maximum flood level for resorting to control release. They have to resort to control release much before that. And on the other side, if even if water level at certain time reaches the upper rule level, but the rainfall scenario is such that no rain is expected over the next few days or next few weeks, then the dam authorities should not be releasing water just to adhere to the road curve. So that kind of dynamism is required, and that decision making that has to be with stakeholder participation. Next slide, please. Next. We know that the Disaster Management Act came into being in India in 2005, and that the super cyclone of Orissa in 1999, as well as the earthquake in Gujarat in 2002, that actually contributed to the formation of Disaster Management Act. And then we have NDMA, we have NDRF, we have state disaster management authorities and district disaster management authorities. And in Kerala, where LSG's local self-governments are very active, we have local self-government level working groups and also rapid response teams and other agencies also. And the revenue department, the taluka and village authorities have roles in disaster management. Then police and fire force department have role in disaster management. So it's a kind of combined effort from multiple government authorities. Next slide, please. Kerala is a multi-hazard zone, and floods are the largest threats. And we have a similar structure in Kerala also. KSDMA was formed in 2007, and DDMAs are in place in all places And as I said, local self-governments have a larger role in Kerala, even though that's not originally envisaged in the DM Act. After 2018 floods, the DM institutions in the state have improved significantly, especially the district disaster management authorities as well as local self-governments are much more equipped than they were in 2018. The State Disaster Management Authority is preparing protocols called Orange Book, and they are updating it on every year. They have developed inundation maps at taluk level. Next slide, please. Despite these initiatives, a lot more actually has to be done with regards to developing flood resilience. One is regarding weather forecasting. I'm sure that already has been discussed, but just to point out, we need regional level uh, forecasting mechanisms. In fact, the IMD is having forecast at district level only, but the rainfall pattern within a district can vary very significantly. So, at regional forecasting at regional level is very important. In fact, Dr. Abhilash and his team are actually trying to do that for the communities. Then inundation maps. Actually, as I said, the KSDMA has come up with taluk level maps, but we need cadastral scale maps at Gram Panchayat levels. Only then can ground level action can be improved further. Again, in the flood prone regions, we need to have comprehensive database of people, material, livestock, etc. And based on these database and these maps and also forecast mechanisms, we need to develop direct early warning mechanisms where each household that is likely to be affected is directly intimated about the possibility of flood. Again, another important point is developing real-time monitoring facilities at strategic location. In larger basins, you may have require that at multiple locations, but in smaller basins like what we have in Kerala, maybe a single location can serve the purpose. In the case of our river basin, Chalakudi-Puzha Basin, if we have a real-time monitoring team and mechanism at Chalakudi, where real-time information about rainfall, water level, reservoir conditions, and forecast, everything is available, then that can help immensely in improving flood forecasting. And reservoir management I have already discussed. And then we need to have flood management plans at multiple levels. In fact, the NDMA way back issued guidelines for flood management plans, right? I think in 2008. But unfortunately, we are not having robust flood maps at river basin, at even river basin levels. But even a river basin level flood map is not sufficient. We need to have regional level flood management plans also. Next slide, please. In fact, disaster management cannot be handled by government authorities only. The DM Act actually envisages a role, specifies roles for various government agencies, but it's not giving specific role for communities. It's not having proper directions for community participation, for even LSG participation. But given the type of disasters and its magnitude, we need to have people's participation, and one of the major role that communities can do with respect to floods is weather and hydrology monitoring. Uh, and we have good examples in Kerala, at Meenachil River Basin in central Kerala. They are having a very good community network for rain and river monitoring. At Wayanad also, the Hume Center is having more than 200 rain gauges, and they are regularly monitoring that. In fact, they had actually warned about possibility of huge landslides prior to that Chiralmala incident in July 2024. Unfortunately, action did not happen on that warning. At Chalakudi-Pura Basin also, we are having community participation. And since that's a controlled basin, the the monitoring practice is slightly different. We'll be discussing that in detail. Next slide, please. Meenachil can be taken as a very good example of how people can come together in flood monitoring and forecasting. The nature of floods in dammed and undammed rivers can differ significantly. And in the case of undammed rivers, the prime contributor to the floods is the rain. And of course, there are some other aspects also, like land use changes, then maybe structures across the river, and other aspects also come into play. But primarily, it is the rainfall. And after the 2018 floods, people's monitoring in the river basin started from 2019, and the Meenachil River Protection Council actually initiated these activities. Next slide, please. Their initiative is called Meenachil Rain and River Monitoring, MRRM, and they are having more than 200 rain gauges across the basin. And what's heartening is that more than 50% of the volunteers are students, and they have river gauges at strategic locations, including at various streams joining the river. And daily data is being recorded and analyzed, processed, and it's actually fed into various research projects also. People like Dr. Abhilash, Dr. Roxy Matthew Cole, they're all actually supporting these initiatives. And during high rainfall events, actually the rainfall data is not collected on a daily basis, but frequent intraday readings are taken, and based on this, they are issuing warning to local self-governments and people about possibility of floods at different places. And uh, it's actually a dynamic process where the learning happens with each experience, and that's now developed into a very robust system where the actual, even though they cannot control the floods, they can actually reduce the loss due to floods with timely warning to the communities and local self-governments. And DM institutions do recognize these activities, and they are providing some support, but it's not sufficient actually. Next slide, please. Chalakudi-Pura is actually a highly regulated basin. As I said, we have 6 dams built across the main river and its tributaries. Only one is across the main river. The others are in various tributaries. Unlike in the case of Meenachil Basin, here the flood in the basin is actually defined by mainly by three factors. One is the discharge from the lowest reservoir, that is the Peringal-Kuttu hydroelectric project. The second one is the runoff from the catchments below the Peringal-Kuttu reservoir. And the third one is the pace of flow into the sea. These three together actually would define the flood magnitude in the basin. Of course, the water level in the river prior to extreme rainfall event also has got its own bearing. And Chalakudi Pura Samrakshana Samiti and River Research Center, they are involved in the basin since 1987 actually. And in fact, even in 2018, we had tried to warn authorities about possible huge floods at least 1 month prior to the actual event. Unfortunately, at that time, it was not received well. Since 2019, we have been involved in flood monitoring and disseminating information into the public. And our inputs are in great demand nowadays during monsoon periods. For us, uh, multiple level of information is required for forecasting possible floods. And weather forecast are sourced from both IMD and the Advanced Center for Atmospheric Radar Research at CUSAT. And the CUSAT team actually provide us with even multiple intraday updates in the case of extreme rainfall days, and also some location specific inputs at times on demand also. If the situation is very grim, I actually personally keep on talking to Dr. Abhilash, request him for updates, and he obliges to the maximum extent possible. He's actually trying to develop flood forecast model for a river basin. Unfortunately, that's highly challenging, and so that is a work in progress. Then data on reservoirs. In fact, in the case of reservoirs, we need to have three type of information. One is the reservoir level at a particular time, then the rate of inflow into the reservoir, and also outflow from the reservoir. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. And like in Meenachil, river water level is being monitored by the community, and also rainfall is being monitored by community at many places. And based on these inputs, plus our experience on the basin, we are trying to assess possible flood levels and communicate this to local self-governments, public, and key field level volunteers. And also forward and backward communication with the district administration is happening continuously. I just try to narrate an incident that happened last year in at the same time when that Wayanad incident happened. That is on the night of 29th July and on 30th July. It's just to show how the inputs provided by us is magnified on field. On the evening of 29th, it was actually raining heavily during the entire daytime, and so I was trying to look at the situation in the at the Peringalkuttu reservoir. The upstream reservoirs fortunately were not full at that time, so there was no concern about release from those dams. But Peringalkuttu, of course, we had to monitor. And at 6 p.m., when I contacted the district control room, they were telling that the discharge rate, total discharge rate, including flood discharge plus powerhouse discharge, was around 260 cubic meters per second. That actually did not ring a warning bell for me, because the basin can actually absorb a flood discharge of up to 400 to 500 m³ per second, especially if the water level in the river is at a lower level. But after a couple of hours, at 8 o'clock, when I again sought for the information, it was intimated that the flood total discharge had gone up to more than 750 cubic meters per second, a threefold increase in a couple of hours. So that was the time when it became apparent that the basin is going to face flood. So immediately began contacting key persons. I prepared detailed notes and shared it in various WhatsApp groups. I communicated with key persons at different places, including the basin MLA, various local self-government heads, and community volunteers. And by 10 o'clock, the actual discharge from Peringalkuttu had crossed 1000 m³ per second, and it reached 1100 plus at 11 p.m. So it was apparent that the basin is going to be flooded in the early hours next day. So I demanded that to the people in the downstream that people from low-lying areas need to be evacuated in the night itself, and that actually happened, and most people were evacuated at night itself. In fact, when we pass on the information to certain people, they actually pass it on to many other people who actually work on the field to actually do the evacuation and other things, and pass on information. So it's like a multiplier effect, where the information from a particular source is going to, say, 50 sources, then that is magnified into 500 and like that. So that's the kind of people's monitoring that's happening. Next slide, please. I have only a couple of slides more. It's obvious that extreme rainfall events are going to increase only. And so we need to be alert about extreme floods during every monsoon. Maybe at some years we may not have extreme floods, but we have to be prepared for extreme events throughout. And as we have discussed, inputs based on field observations are very important in real-time monitoring, and this can be done only through community participation. So that has to be built into disaster management plans. Another issue is timely access to data and information, and at times it is a huge challenge. In fact, at some time we need to continuously pester the authorities for providing us with data, even though they are very much aware that what we are doing at the ground level. But the data flow is not happening at times, and that's posing a huge challenge. Again, we need to have flood models, and also inundation maps at a LSG level, so that a more accurate prediction can be attempted. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. In fact, with respect to reservoirs, we need to have hourly or at least bi-hourly observation data during heavy rainfall events. That is regarding inflow into the reservoir, changes in reservoir level plus outflow. That's very critical with respect to defining flood possibility in the downstream. In fact, we are actually now trying to develop more rainfall monitoring facilities, especially in the upstream regions also. In the forested catchments, we are exploring the possibilities. So, as I said, in our basin, Peringil Kutub reservoir is having a large catchment, and rainfall at different places in the catchment can differ significantly. So, we need to have rainfall scenario from different places of the basin so that the possible inflow into the reservoir can be assessed. And that would actually help in predicting the possible scenario at the reservoir and, of course, the downstream discharge also. And these information actually that should be readily available in public domain because uh, data and information is actually uh, one of the key to being informed about a possible disaster. And that's another aspect is regarding these, as I said, at Meenachil, at Wayanad, at Chalakudi, all these places, we are actually doing this work at community level and we are communicating with the authorities also. But unfortunately, if a certain warning is issued from our side, it is not binding on the authorities. No, it's not just not binding. Authorities at district level or taluk level, they actually cannot act on the warning issued from communities because the protocol does not allow for that. So we need to develop semi-institutional arrangements and protocols for these community-based monitoring to be incorporated into flood management procedure and also regarding data sharing. Uh, so that's it. Next slide, please. Yeah, as I try to say, let us come together, let both authorities and communities come together to address various aspects of climate crisis, including floods and droughts. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Now we will open the floor for questions. All the participants, you're free to use the chat box or unmute yourself and ask any doubts if present. So we have a question in the chat box.
Okay. Uh, yes, low-lying areas are being affected frequently, continuously. And unfortunately, people living in these most vulnerable regions are often from the lower strata of the community. So, at places which uh, which are affected frequently by floods or which are under severe threat from landslides, they actually need to be relocated. They need to be rehabilitated properly. And that responsibility actually cannot be that of the communities living in those regions because they are actually coming from poor background. So the authorities plus community, if possible, should come together to relocate these people permanently because it's very difficult to control the floods entirely. Of course, certain mitigation measures have to be initiated, and in the case of dammed basins, dams can uh, do a certain level of flood mitigation. In the case of undammed rivers, uh, it is basically a long-term strategy where we need to go for catchment area restoration, eco restoration in the upper catchments, and revival of the river basin, entire river basin. So that has to happen. But in the case of these most vulnerable people, I think the only option that is available immediately is to rehabilitate these people, uh, satisfactorily rehabilitate them with uh, probably support from communities, but the primary responsibility must lie with the government. Thank you. And of
Thank you,
course,
sir.
the development in real-time monitoring would help in providing prior warning to these people so that they can shift much before actual flooding happens. And that only can help in reducing material loss, but the trauma would still continue. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Are there any more questions from the side of participants? I guess it is a no, sir. So let us conclude this session. I kindly welcome Dr. Suraj for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session and discussed in detail on hydroclimatic hazards and also extreme climate events in India, and also shared an overview on contributing factors to 2018 floods. Also discussed about some specific cases like Periyar Basin and Chalakudy Pura, and also about reservoir operations in detail. And sir ended the session beautifully with a personal experience that you have faced during that flood operation session. And thank you, sir, for delivering a beautiful session for us. And with a token of gratitude, Amal Jyoti College of Engineering, Department of Chemical Engineering, sharing a virtual memento to you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to the participants also for listening to me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we come to the end of day 3 of faculty development program conducted by Department of Chemical Engineering at Amal Jyoti College of Engineering. And a grand thank you to all the participants for their active involvement in both of these sections. Before leaving, kindly fill out the feedback form that will be shared in the chat box. The form will be active only for 10 minutes, so kindly fill that before the time limit reaches. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 4 and more engaging sessions. Until then, thank you all and have a great evening.